Okay, this is going to be a beginner tutorial to create a 3D model of this integrated circuit component. I'm doing this for a member of the CAD Tutor Forum who wanted to know how to create this model. So here we go. To begin with, you'll want to start a new drawing with the acadiso template. It's a metric template with the units already set to decimal and millimeter, which is what we need for this model. So if you come up to the little icon here up in the corner, select the acadiso template and click open. I already have it open, so I'm going to click cancel. Now I have this image loaded here. You don't need to do it, but I wanted to have it here for reference so people could see what I'm making, and also to point out the two incorrect dimensions. This one here says 0.05. There's no way these little cutouts can be spaced at 0.05. They'd be right on top of each other. So I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be 0.5, not 0.05. The other one is this 4.8 dimension. I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be 4.1, and I'll show you why I think that at the end. But for the purpose of this tutorial, I'm going to leave it at 4.8 because that's what they have here. Okay, the first thing I want to do is create a polygon. So you can either type polygon at the command line, or if you come up to the ribbon on the Home tab and click the little down arrow right here, you can select polygon. Now with the command active, it's going to start asking you questions. The first question is, how many sides do you want? We want 4. Center of polygon, I want 0, 0. I want it to be circumscribed, and for the radius I want 2.4 because that's half of 4.8. Okay, now I want another polygon, so come back up here, polygon, 4 sides, 0, 0, circumscribed, and this time I want the radius to be 1.35 because that's half of 2.7. Next thing we need to do is we need to chamfer the corner right here. So you can either type chamfer or come back up here to the ribbon, click this little down arrow next to fillet and select chamfer. Then come down here to distance and we want 0.3. Second distance also 0.3. And then just select the edges that you want to chamfer. Now I want to create this little piece. So to do that, I'm going to use the rectangle command. So back up here in the ribbon, click the down arrow and switch back to rectangle. And I can just click anywhere here to start. And then for the second point, I want to type in 0.2, 0.75. Now I need the end to be rounded, and to do that I can use the circle command. But before I do that, I need to enable my O-snaps, or object snaps. You can do that by either hitting F3 on your keyboard, or come down here and click this little button to turn them on, and then if you right click on it, you can see a list of all the available object snaps. For this model, you only need endpoint and midpoint, so just make sure those two are selected. Now you can either type circle at the command line or click on it up here in the ribbon. And once it's active, come down to the command line, click on 2P, and then with the endpoint object snap, just click on one endpoint and then click on the other one. Now I need to trim out the excess lines that I don't need and then join the whole thing together. To do that, I'm going to use the trim command. I'm going to click and drag to select both objects, hit enter, and then select the circle and then select the line. Now, these are still two separate objects, so I need to join them together. To do that, I can use the poly edit command, which you can type, or you can come up here to the Modify tab, click on this button here, and then select one of them, click Join, select the other one, hit Enter, Enter again, and now the whole thing is joined up as one object. Now I want to make a copy of this object, but before I do that, I want to either hit F8 on your keyboard or come down here and click this button to turn on orthogonal locking. That will restrict my movement to the X and Y axis only. So now I can make a copy, select it, drag it over, hit Enter. The reason I'm making this copy is that I want this object to be a little bit longer than this one. So I'm going to use the stretch command, Windows select the end of it, and I'm just going to bring it up a little bit. And then I'm going to use the move command, select it using the endpoint O snap, and snap it right back on top of the other one. Okay, now that we have all the shapes, we can start making the 3D model. And to do that, the first thing I want to do is hold down the Shift key and middle mouse button, and then I can orbit around to get a good 3D view to work with. And now I want to switch to the 3D tools, and I want to extrude this larger shape. So I'll select it, hit Enter, start dragging up, and then hit type in 0.75. Now for this next shape, I want it to be sitting on top of this object. So I want to use the move command, select it, enter, click anywhere for the base point, and then just drag straight up 0.75. And now you can see it's sitting on top. And now I want to extrude this one, but I want to do this one 0.05. Now, if you want to see what this looks like with these as solid objects, you can come up here to where it says 2D wireframe, click on that, and then click realistic. Now, it's kind of hard to see because both objects are the same color. So what you want to do is come over here to the Home tab and Layer Properties. And here you can set up different layers with different colors. I've already got mine set up, but if you want to create a new layer, just click on this button here. And you can name it. And you can change the color to whatever color you want. And once you have your layers set up, you want to get these objects onto those layers. So the easiest way to do that is to open up your Properties palette. You can click on one of these objects to select it and come over here to where it says Layer, and then move it to the layer you want. And then do the same thing with this object. Now I need to move these smaller objects into position so I can finish the model. And to do that, I can use the Move command, click and drag to window select both objects. Then for the base point, I want to select the midpoint of this smaller shape. And for the second point, just click the midpoint of this larger shape here. Now, I don't want them sitting on the midpoint of this object because they're supposed to be spaced evenly at 0.5. So I'm going to move them, but instead of selecting them, I'm going to hit P for previous, and that'll select your previous selection set. Hit Enter, click for the base point, drag to the left, and 0.25. I'm also going to move both of them up. So with the Move command, hit P again to select the previous, Enter, click for a base point and drag up, and type 0.05. Now I want to extrude the larger shape down 0.2. Now I want to copy this object. So select it, hit enter, click anywhere for a base point, drag to the right, type in 0.5, enter. Command is still active. So type 1, hit enter, and then enter to exit the command. Now I want to mirror these three objects across the center line. So start the mirror command, select all three objects, hit enter. Then you can grab the midpoint here as the first point of the mirror line. Click there, drag down, or actually I guess it's back. Click again, and you don't want to erase a source object, so click no. Now I want to combine all of these individual objects into one object. And to do that, I can use the union command. Just select all the objects, hit enter. Now it's one complete object. And with that, now I can mirror these to the other side. So start the mirror command, select, hit enter, select the midpoint, drag back, click, and no. Now we've got all of those. Now I want to union these together, so union, select them both. Now that's one complete object. Now I want to make a copy of this one. The base point 0, 0, the second point 0, 0. And so now I have two copies sitting right on top of each other. I did that so that now I can rotate one of the copies around the base point 0, 0, and the rotation angle of 90 degrees. And now I've got all of that into position. And once again, union. And now that's all in one object. Now I want to subtract the gray objects from the blue object. So click the subtract button, then select the blue object, hit enter, select the gray objects, and hit enter. And now we have all these cutouts. Now there's just one more thing that needs to be done, which is basically do all the same steps again for this smaller shape. So I want to extrude down 0.2. And I want to make a copy 0.5 and 1. And I want to mirror and union. And mirror. And union. Copy. Rotate. And union. And let's put these a third layer. Now, if you zoom in, you can see that they're not really that smooth on the rounded ends. But if you type in FACETRES and change that to 10, and that'll smooth them out a bit more. Now, in the beginning of this video, I told you that I thought the 4.8 dimension was incorrect, and here's why. See, these purple objects look much longer on the model than they do on the drawing. And in comparison, here's another model I did where I made it 4.1 instead of 4.8. And it looks a lot closer. So, I don't know. It's up to you if you want to use the 4.8 dimension or the 4.1 dimension. But anyway, that's about it for this one. It's a pretty simple model, but it does require quite a few steps. So if you have any questions or comments, go ahead and post them below. And as always, if you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.